They don't have the high thing here like we have.
Is a contract.
Okay, good evening. The Design Review Board number 1 public meeting of August the 19th is called to order. Please refrain from talking amongst yourself and please turn off or put on vibrate all cell phones and pagers. If you need to talk, please leave the meeting room. Anyone who wishes to speak, including applicants, is asked to completely fill out one of the speaker cards provided at the table by the front door and submit it to staff. You'll be called to present a case or speak on a specific item as desired. Anyone who wishes to be re-noticed about a project must completely fill out one of the postcards provided at the table by the front door and submit it to staff to receive notice of subsequent meetings. Current Design Review Board agendas are available by calling our Design Review Board hotline at 818-548-3171 or by visiting our website at www.ci.glendale.ca.us. A handout describing the procedures of the meeting, possible board decisions, and Design Review Board reconsideration and appeals is available by the table at the front door. Please note that appeals must be filed within 15 calendar days of the Design Review Board decision date. The chairperson may reorder agenda items at his or her discretion. Board Member Aliano?
Here.
Board Member Palmer?
Here.
Board Member Simonian? Is not present. Board Member Yu?
Here.
And Chairman Insua?
Here.
Report regarding posting of the agenda. The agenda for this meeting was posted on the bulletin board outside City Hall at or before 5 p.m. on August 12, 2010. Next item, oral communications. Discussion is limited to items not a part of this agenda. I do not have any oral communication cards. Chairman Insua, none. Which brings us to the review calendar. At this time, there are no staff announcements. There are two cases on tonight's agenda. The first case will be heard. However, the second case, and this would be case number 1-PDR 2010-022A. This project is located at 412 through 420 West Colorado Street. This is in addition to a commercial building. This particular case is being continued. It's taken off the calendar, and it will be properly re-noticed the next time it returns back before DRB review. So it will not be heard this evening. Therefore, we only have one case, and at this point in time, I would like to turn the meeting either over to Chairman Insua or to the case planner, Milka Toledo.
Okay, thank you. Welcome, everyone. Yep, we only have one case, so I think that we'll be able to review them quickly and expediently and try to get the job done efficiently this evening. Okay, well, the first case this evening is 1-PDR 2010-025-A, 1636 Hesbeth Lane. And why don't we do the staff report?
Yes, hi. Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the board. This item before you is, as you stated, located at 1636 Hesbeth Lane. That's in the northwest Glendale area, located if you drive up Cumberland and make a right on Hesbeth Lane. It has pretty much a small street and it dead ends into the mountain, just to kind of give you an idea as far as location. The site is currently developed with a one-story, 2,595 square foot single-family house with a detached 492 square foot two-car garage. The proposal involves adding 185 square feet to the first floor at the front entry, and this would also include the front entry door to be relocated, and a new 716 square foot second-story master bedroom addition. The new second story will be located towards the center of the existing house, and it will be set back from all sides. The total area of the house with the addition will be 3,496 square feet. And they are proposing new colors and materials for the house, and that would include smooth stucco finish, new concrete tile roofing, and new vinyl windows. The project is located in the R1R zone, which is Hillside Floor Area Ratio District 2. The property actually is located on sloping terrain. As you approach the property, there is a long driveway, and it obviously slopes until you get to reach the top of the property, which is pretty much generally flat terrain. It's actually a large property. I do have a location map, but obviously since there was no room, I didn't put it on the board, but I believe it's in your packets. And I also have a smaller version of including topo on the flip side of that board on the right corner. The property is located in the San Rafael neighborhood, which is characterized by the Woodlands neighborhood. There's a variety of the homes in this area exhibit many recurring features in their site plans. They tend to be larger homes, 1 to 2 stories, and they range from 1,400 to 2,500 square feet. Most of the homes were built between the 1920s and the 1960s. As far as site planning is concerned, again, I stated earlier that the topography consists of uphill sloping terrain. The house is situated on a relatively flat pad. The area surrounding the home consists of heavy, lush vegetation, and the site planning won't change as a result of the project. Again, primarily the footprint of the building will remain the same. They are, as I stated earlier, relocating the front entry from its current location, adding to that area on the ground floor, and relocating and creating a new main front entry. In addition to that, like as he stated earlier, they are proposing the new second story. So as far as mass and scale is concerned, the overall mass in the building will change as a result of the new second story addition. However, the overall scale of the building, as I previously stated, will not change, or significantly change rather. The addition is modest in size and will remain, and the height will actually maintain of the building will result in a relatively minor expansion. Because it is stepped back from all sides and is pushed towards the hillside, the second floor addition is not out of context with the existing house in the general neighborhood. Staff, however, does have some recommendations, and that would be addressing the building's massing on the east elevation and the front entry tower by lowering its height. And one way to achieve that, as stated in the report, by lowering that area approximately on the second floor 3 feet, and the area where the front entry is approximately about a foot. The overall height of the building will increase to approximately 21 feet 9 inches with the new second story, where the maximum height permitted in this zone with a pitched roof of minimum 3 and 12 will be 35 feet. And the setbacks will remain unchanged. As far as the building design and detailing, as stated earlier, the new stucco is proposed, a new stucco color, smooth finish. The color is proposed to be compatible, obviously, in accordance with the hillside design guidelines, to propose a color that's more in keeping with the hillside or natural vegetation. In addition to that, they are proposing a new fenestration, so they're replacing the existing aluminum slider steel casement windows with nail-on vinyl windows. Although we typically do not recommend vinyl windows, but it does not appear entirely inappropriate in this case. So they're maintaining a pretty simple design. They're not using a variety of material. So again, the main changes, as I stated earlier, would be the new stucco, the windows, and the new roof tile. Staff does have some recommendations. The one was, again, to reduce the vertical mass at the east and north elevations by lowering the second floor 1 foot and the ground level front entry about 3 feet. I think originally I kind of flipped that around, so I'm going to emphasize that and clarify it. So again, 1 foot for the second floor, and the ground entry, front entry would be 3 feet to be lowered. Number 2 was to legalize the wrought iron driveway gate and fence located along the west side of the driveway facing the street. And number 3 would be to consider utilizing fiberglass or aluminum windows in lieu of the proposed vinyl windows. So with that, we do recommend approval because it is compatible with the design guidelines and the overall neighborhood context. with those recommendations to be considered. Before I conclude, there was a letter that was submitted, actually an email, by an interested party located, I believe, at 101 West Kenneth Road, and she had concerns regarding, primarily when I read the letter, it seemed like it revolved around noise, construction noise, or noise as a result of construction, traffic, dust particles, etc. But I would just like to make reference to that. She did call me a few times on the phone, so I did speak to her, and she raised these concerns, and which are addressed in the letter. So I did advise her that this would be obviously forwarded to the board members, and they would read it and address her concerns. Her name, I believe, is Carol Nedef. Nedef. Thank you. And that concludes my presentations. If you have any questions for staff, I'm available. Yes.
I had a question. When you say front entrance, you're talking about this side?
Yeah, let me approach the board.
And then this whole second story go down 1 foot?
Are you referring to the comment that we raised? Yes, it was this area in here, so reduce this about 1 foot and this about 3 feet. And then obviously by lowering this in transit window would be reduced.
You don't have a microphone.
Oh, it says on, but I guess I need to speak louder. It's not working. Put it on, but... Anyways, sorry. And then, of course, the vertical mass from this side here.
That's the one facing the slope.
Just speak really, you have to speak into the top.
I get it. Now I know how it works. So, yes, it would be this area right in here that we're recommending, that obviously to reduce this mass, the verticality here. And then obviously, like I stated earlier, the front entry in this portion of the main.
That's the part that's facing the slope, though, right?
Correct. The hillside would be on this side. And again, as I stated earlier, the second floor addition's located primarily towards the hillside. And I need to share this with you.
I'm not going to say anything else.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any more questions we have for staff? Okay. Well, let's open up the speaker portion of it. The first person I'm going to call, and if you'd rather switch it, just let me know. How about if we choose the architect, since he can probably help us. Your name and address, sir, please.
Good afternoon. My name is Sam Yusefian. Address is 1431 Huntington Drive, Suite 201, South Pasadena.
Thank you, sir. 5 minutes, correct?
Yeah,
3 minutes.
it might not take
3 minutes for your
3
presentation.
minutes?
Thank you, sir.
5 for applicants.
Yeah, 5 minutes, but you can go. You can certainly use less.
Let's check my stuff.
Thank you.
Split the difference. 4 minutes. Go ahead.
I might not be a familiar face in Glendale. Being an architect for 28 years, this is my second project in Glendale for the last 20 years. The project, as Ms. Milka explained, actually it's a simple project, not visible from the street except if you drive all the way up towards the dead end. It's a dead end street. 1 or 2 houses will be seeing this in case if we go second floor, even though the only thing we'll be blocking is the sky. I don't know whether you have been to the site, but while driving up, you won't be seeing this house, because one side is the slope, then a flat area with a long driveway, and also on the south side, again, very hilly. So it looks like the architect has done a grading, cutting that flat area and creating a pad and utilized almost all the pad, giving a very slight driveway, a two-car detached garage, house, and the back where the swimming pool is. So the only way that I could have accomplished a master suite was to go a second floor. And to create that second floor, as you see, I have given a two-volume entryway, revising a little bit, cutting from the living area to create that entry, give another restroom or toilet on the ground floor, and go up, give their master bedroom the view. All the utilities, the rest, it's towards the mountain, and the bathroom, master suite, and walk-in closet also I had to give, it goes to the north. The materials we used were, again, not a lot of difference materials. I mean, it's all the same. Some materials that were, stucco, lightweight concrete. We chose, actually, the owner wanted vinyl windows, but looks like it's been recommended to go into aluminum or fiberglass. As to the second floor, I was purposely given 9 feet high. Being 8 feet on a master suite, that's low. And 1 foot taking from the sky of the neighbors is not going to affect, but it's going to affect interior volume. I won't see any problem reducing the entry because, but again, that mess is seen only by 4 neighbors, being a dead-end street. No one else would be seeing that entry. But if that's the board or the planners are recommending, I'm willing to deal with that. If you have any questions, I'm ready to answer.
Thank you, sir. Do we have any questions for you?
I have a question. You say you're not changing the lower level, basically.
The only thing I'm giving is creating that entry, double volume entry, to go into the second floor.
I'm having some trouble with the existing floor plan on some of the doors, windows, and measurements don't relate to the existing elevations.
I'm closing only 1 or 2 doors from the kitchen area. The rest, it's all stays the same.
I'm just saying the existing elevations don't match the existing floor plan, sometimes on every elevation, every side. So I'm just trying to establish if you're changing these or it's just typo. If you look at the north elevation on the existing floor plan,
okay.
yeah, on the right side, there's a door showing on the floor plan, and it's a window on the elevation. It's in front of the chimney.
Yeah, on the left side, yeah, as I told you, that one window, we are changing it. That's the kitchen area. Is going to be remodeled interiorly, and that's affecting the elevation.
Okay, and if you go around to the west side?
West elevation?
West elevation.
Yeah, up. Number 4 window.
You've got, on the existing floor plan, you don't show the chimney, and you show
the chimney
3
is gone.
doors. I'm just trying to find out on the existing elevation and the existing floor.
Existing elevation, I had to do some changes because that while doing the living room, the family room area where they had that fireplace, that because of the interior, some remodeling, that has been it's gone.
Okay, I'm just saying whatever we do decide that the existing floor plan should match the existing elevations and relate to the proposed.
Existing plan
On sheet A3?
A,
A3?
A3,
Yes.
okay. A3 is the corner where the fireplace is, in the family room. And in the new, because we're opening all that family area.
I
that's-
understand. I'm just saying,
Oh, okay.
when this is completed, that the elevation should match the floor plans.
Just to explain, the submitted A3 sheet, existing floor plan,
Yes,
where the openings are shown on the floor plan,
okay.
appears different than the way they're shown on the existing elevations. So it's confusing as to what is actually existing. So I think we can work on that subsequently.
Okay, I'll see which. Okay, if
That's the only question I
I
have.
just want to see it.
Yeah, I have some questions. On your window schedule, you're showing aluminum windows. Is that what you're proposing, or are you proposing
Well-
vinyl windows?
We were asked to go into aluminum. That's why we're going to go aluminum. They said that they don't want vinyl.
Okay. Because I think the application, it said they're vinyl, but then here they're showing aluminum, so we should get a...
Existing is aluminum now.
What might have happened is that since I initiated and kind of wrapped up the report prior, he submitted subsequent
Okay.
modifications after I discussed the recommendations that I was making, is what I think that's where
The discrepancy.
the
So
discrepancy
to
lies.
clarify with the applicant, what is currently being proposed? Is it vinyl or
We
aluminum?
want vinyl.
Okay, so that's the current proposal under discussion?
Yes.
That, we just need to be clear on what the board is deciding on tonight. Thank
So
you.
we'll have to update sheet A4 then with the window schedule.
A4, okay.
Some of your window sizes aren't matching either on your elevations. I think on your southern, no, not southern, your
8.
your new eastern elevation, the windows that you have shown for the staircase area, you show them as
4x4.
2x4 windows, but I think they look a little bigger graphically than.
Be 20 by 40. If it's 20, it's double the size.
Right, on your sheet A5 on your window schedule.
2040.
2040 window, right?
And
But on
this
your
is-
elevation, I think they look closer to a
it's 2040
2640 or something like that.
So if you draw a line between them, in the proportionally, it's 2 feet by 4 feet.
Wait, where's this third?
I mean,
2 feet by 4 feet. Well, just check it. It's not the same.
I'd hate to interject, but I wonder if, because it is tough in this kind of conceptual design phase for staff and even the applicant to check for consistencies. Perhaps if there's agreement that what we're looking at and deciding on is the elevations, and the elevations will govern, and if there are changes and what have you that you'd like to make or recommend or and so on, then we can make sure that everything is consistent as it moves forward.
As long as we pick one or the other, that's fine.
Right, so if we can agree that because it's easier, and as staff, what we do is we do rely on the elevations to tell a lot of the story. It's, for all of the applications, it's very hard for us to compare all of the data on all of the sheets. So that's what we rely on. If the board will agree to rely on that might make it easier.
Well, I think that's
for
why when we
tonight's
see a
discussion.
discrepancy, we want him to tell us which one he wants us to go by and which one he wants us to approve.
actually,
because-
I mean, on this elevation, I don't find anything because no one will be seeing this. Behind it, it's a 40 feet mountain, just 8 feet away. hardly there's a passage to go. I mean,
Well, we should still get it right. It's
I
their
know,
house.
I know. I
it's-
don't mean
They're spending
that. I
good
mean,
money
yeah,
to get it
definitely,
right. So.
I have to. It might have been because what happened that I submitted once the plans, and then Miss Stephanie and Miss Milka, they wanted me to change the front elevation because I had in and outs. So once I cleared that, might have been that I missed some of the sizes.
Okay, then just one last thing then. On the second level facing the north side where the entry is,
Yes.
on your floor plan you show 14040 window. On your elevation you have 3. Which is it going to be?
The one the north elevation.
Yes.
What is the
Above your door.
Transom window.
what I didn't get
On
it.
sheet A4?
Yes.
I mean not
A4
A4.
or
A5.
A10.
A5.
Okay.
Above your door.
Oh, okay. You got it. I got it.
Just
I like it.
just tell us which one you want.
I want to go all the way open, the same way as lower level. The opening, it's a narrow opening, so it has to be wider.
So you're going by the elevation then?
Yes.
Okay. I don't know if you have the room for it, but yeah, okay. That's...
Well, it's being high. If the door works out, it's going to work for the window also.
Okay.
Yes, Ms.
I have one other question. Are you proposing to put the retaining wall that is exposed to the street side in a stonework?
That was, I think, the design. No, that's going to be hell of expensive. No, I think,
It shows that you're
I
proposing
think, yeah, it's been after it was done. I submitted. I realized that's whatever they have it now, and eventually the Ivy will.
Are you going to propose to do anything with the retaining wall?
Well, it's there. It's an existing. I'm not.
But I mean, it's a chipped modeled stucco, so I'm just asking if you're going to improve it at all, or...
To go and do veneer or brick or
I'm
something?
just asking what you're proposing. Okay.
Thank you. Giuliano, do you have any questions for the applicant?
I'm still, actually, that's okay. I'll wait.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Your master.
The next person to speak is the owner, Arsene. Your name and address, please, which is probably this one.
Good afternoon, council members. My name is Arsene Kalfayan Gevgelian. We live at 1636 Hasbeth Lane. We've been at that location for the last 11 years, and we hope to stay in the city for the rest of our lives. When we got married about 25 years ago, we couldn't afford a house here, so we had to move to another city. But my family, they all live here. My sisters, my brother, my mom, but she passed away now. We all live here, and I used to work in one of the hospitals, local hospitals. So we love the community. We want to preserve the beauty of the city, and we've made every effort to conform to all the requirements for the hillside projects. When we moved back to the city, we had to move from a 5-bedroom house to a 3-bedroom house, and I didn't have a closet that would fit my outfit, unfortunately, and it's been a dream of ours to have a decent-sized master bedroom, and the only way we could achieve that was to go up, and we also wanted to enjoy some of the beauty, the scenery that is available to us. So I'm hoping that you will, once the discrepancies are resolved, you will approve our modest project. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay. We've got another speaker, but let me just paraphrase the email that we received. Essentially, the email from Mrs. Carol Nadeff summarizes essentially the discomfort and what happens when constructions occur. It's real. Construction is noisy and dusty and stuff. There are guidelines and laws which are in place to control the noise when you can do construction, and there are also guidelines and laws and codes concerning dust and mitigating debris coming off your site. We hope that this project and all projects comply with those guidelines. But her comments are not based on design review, and this board is focused on design review, but we're sensitive to those community issues. Okay, and our next speaker, your name and address, please, and it's Delma, I think it's Kirsch. How much time does Ms. Kirsch have?
3 minutes.
3 minutes. 3 minutes, Ms. Kirsch.
First, I'd like to pass around this stuff. Here, I'll take the guy if you can.
Your name and address for the record.
Yes.
Good evening, members of the design review members and staff. My name is Delma Kirch, and I live at 1656 Past Beth Lane. I'm 4 homes away from the applicant. And so first, before I go with my presentation, I'd like to say a few things about our neighbors who are applying. I must say I thank them very much. They're very good neighbors. They're very reserved, very pleasant, and we really like them as our neighbors. I am here today to express my opposition to the project. It is not the size. I understand our homes, most of them are, for these days, small. So I can understand them wanting to have more closets and all that stuff, but I have to say they have a beautiful home, and I think in my experience looking around the homes in Glendale, they have one of the nicest homes, especially on our streets. So with that, I'd like to direct you to our first slide on the presentation. As you can see, our immediate homes are all single stories. If you look at my second slide there, you will see that our homes were so nicely designed. I think it's one of the nicest projects or construction projects that the city did during those days. All the homes are stacked away in such a way that each one of us have nice views. All of us have. So, I live on the last home of the street. So the project of my neighbors really doesn't interfere with me, because if you look at the third slide there, you will see that the last 4 homes have protective covenants where they don't allow to have second-story homes. And believe me, if anybody in the future will attempt to do that, I would fight to make sure that no second story is put on there. However, I am not able to verify if Rafi has such covenants, so I would like to emphasize that there is a possibility that there are such covenants because of the way the design of the street is done. So I can't say that there is. Like I said, right now, his project really doesn't affect anybody. In fact, as he said, you can't really see it. And I didn't even know until if I can have 2 more minutes.
You have more time because you were passing things up.
I didn't even know until I came home from a trip and I found story poles there. That's how I knew that there was a project coming up. There was no notice or anything. But anyway, what I'd like to say is that if you look at the next slide, actually the person affected might be Rafi, because there is a home below him, and below that house there's another house. So there's 2 homes below him. So if there are no protected covenants, who's going to stop his neighbors from putting a 2nd or 3rd story? So they might block his view. Same goes with the homes on the west side of the street. All the homes, if you see how they're stacked up, who is to stop this person from doing a 2nd story and block completely the guy that has protection covenant? So that's a problem for me. And so on. I mean, all these homes down here could potentially, based on the, precedent here, can do 2nd story. So I like to make sure that you all are aware of that. If you can. Lastly, I like to say that all the homes on our immediate neighborhood, and when I say immediate, I talk about Glenmont Drive, Larco Way, Hasbeth, and Darrell Street. So there's several homes in Glenmont, and there's only 2 homes that have 2nd story. And the reason that happened, believe me, is because we never got a notice to be able to come here and express our concerns. So the next slide, you can see the homes, how modest and small they are, and they're all single stories. So on Larco Way, there's about 30 homes, and only 2 homes have 2nd stories. And so lastly, what I like to say is that there's about 100 homes in our neighborhood. And out of those 100 homes, there's only less than 10 homes with 2nd story. So, what I like to do is to ensure that we preserve our neighborhood with 1-story homes.
Thank you. And if I remember correctly, we allow the applicant to have about 2 minutes or so, 2 minutes for rebuttal. So if one of the applicants wants to come up and add additional information, you have that opportunity at this time. One more time, if you don't mind, say your name and address. Thank you.
Sam Yusefian, 1431 Huntington Drive, Suite 01, South Pasadena. It was mentioned that the houses were stacked. I have been to the location. I have looked from their houses. It's the street over there winds. It's a winding street. And where Mr. Gevgelian's house is located, there, when you look from their house, it's that hill blocks Mr. Gevgelian's house. I mean, I would have liked to see a photo with flags from their house, if they had it, I don't know, to see what this house is blocking from their view. We didn't have any photos or slides or pictures. So what I meant, I mean, I have a Google aerial photo where it shows that how the street winds, a hill there, and that hill continues all the way to Mr. Gevgelian's house. And then when they did the grading, they cut and created this pad for his residence. After the flags were there, I personally went there to see what was if any, the flags or the construction, the 2nd floor is going to block. And I personally did not see any view blockage. It might be a 2nd floor. I mean, if you go up from the hill towards Brand, that would be north, right? It's all 2nd floors. And might be that none of them are blocking each other. This neighborhood might not have that many 2nd floors, but we are way low from the permitted height. And if I'm not blocking any view, and not giving any harm to a neighbor, I don't see why I won't be able, I would be penalized for that. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Any questions for the applicant or anything?
Yes, I
Yeah, sir, I apologize. Would you mind coming up one more time? One of the commissioners have a question for you.
I'm not clear as to what the material surrounding the balcony is. It appears to be walled in like a
The balcony, because it's a parapet that, I mean, the overhang goes all the way up, so we're not left any sort of balcony railing. Am I making my point?
Yes,
The
it
overhang,
is
the
what,
lower level overhang was 7 feet outside of the house. And when we project that towards the new balcony wall, it's only left this much, which is continuous stucco. So I don't have any railing there.
but it appears so on the proposed floor plan. It's not labeled, that's why I'm asking the question.
Yeah, I mean,
So you're just
you see
continuing the stucco
elevations.
wall?
Yeah, it will be because of the flashing and the wall goes towards butting the new balcony. I won't have that luxury to go with a railing.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Okay, no more comments for any of the applicants? Okay. The public portion of the plenary board is closed. Mr. Laniano, you mind kicking us off?
Sure. I think maybe I'll start by making a general comment. I think the presentation was very, very interesting, very well done, and I can see your point. And the response I wanted to give was that I do agree that there's terracing. You know, all these houses are single story, but there's one factor about this house that's different than the others, which may be the factor that makes it unique. Is that this house actually ends at a very steep hill. It's it does not allow any more terracing at that point. So it's sort of the termination of this terracing. So I just wanted to say that because I think to judge this house as if it's similar to the others around the area is it's not accurate. So having said that, I'm going to focus a little bit now on the actual design. And generally speaking, I think, you know, the architect has done a pretty good job in trying to put this addition in an area where it becomes less obtrusive, as if you had sort of, you know, taken the first floor and just went all the way up on the view side of the house. Which I think is, you know, you've handled it very well. You stepped it back. You know, the only place where there's really a sheer drop is when you're near the hill. And I think that's the area that the planning staff is commenting mostly, you know, about dropping perhaps a foot and then dropping the entrance. That's the area where there's actually more impact. So I do agree with the concern from the planning department, planning staff. So overall, I don't really have a lot of issues with the project. I think you handled basically all the way around fairly well, with the exception of the area I just mentioned. I do want more clarification about the windows. I do want to encourage that if we are going to go one direction or the other, I don't know that this particular project, given the, you know, if I were to study the elevations, you know, there's some nice materials. You know, the roof is attractive. The plaster, I'm sure, will be a nice finish. But then the lacking portion of it is the windows. If you're going to go with vinyls, I don't think that these are going to be appropriate for this kind of caliber of a house. You're establishing a nice system of finishes, and I would not want it to be spoiled by selecting a window material that is not appropriate for this particular place. So I would encourage either the vinyl or even the aluminum, but not the vinyl, I'm sorry, the fiberglass, exterior fiberglass, perhaps interior wood. So there was actually another comment. I believe the staff did a really nice job in the analysis and also the recommendations. I do agree with the recommendations, all three of them. The first one is a little trickier because, just dropping a foot and three, that may have to be massaged a little bit, and there might need to be some communication between the planning and the architect. But I think the least successful part of the house is exactly that number one comment, is that entrance and that whole block. Even though it's against a hill, there are going to be views as you approach from the driveway side. There are going to be views upward, and you want to make sure that does not feel like a sheer drop. So there needs to be some massaging of that area, whether it's dropping a foot and 3 foot on the front entrance, or reconfigure, because that's primarily the stair, and there's probably a better way to do that stair that will make it a little bit softer. But other than that, I really don't have anything else to add. So I'm going to leave it at that and hear what my colleagues have to say.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Palmer, do you want to?
Okay. I agree. I think the placement of the addition is properly placed and doesn't become totally dominating. I also agree that the window material should probably be an upgraded window material, especially in the entry where you're trying to get tall windows 3 wide. I think that would be a problem there, especially. I do think that something needs to be done with the retaining wall facade, because that's probably the first thing you see as you come up and that would be up to you to figure something out. And I agree with staff's comments about lowering the areas. I think that's about it.
Thank you.
I really don't have any big issues with the look of the addition. I think it goes well with sort of the materials that are there and what you're trying to do with the higher space on this. My issues are more related to sort of the sloppiness of the drawings, and I think that's something that you can resolve and kind of get that coordinated. But also, sort of the haphazard way of it was added on the second floor. Your walls on the second floor, they're not quite lining up with the things that are below it. And if that's, well, it's something that you can remedy and make it easier for structural when you line up things and you're just sort of slightly off. Like for example, the northwest corner of the addition on the second floor is shown as being almost, like 2 feet away from what it could be a wall that you could take advantage of. And, just things like that, I would just say to the owner, make sure you look at that to save yourself money on the construction side of it. And so just be aware of that and take care of that now. I think I agree. I think probably going with aluminum is probably a better choice for this house. I mean, it is a nice house, and I think to keep that up, it would be nice. The windows on the west side, I guess it would be the east side. As it goes up the staircase, it's sort of, arranged kind of strangely, sort of just wherever it's needed is plopped in there. So I know no one's going to see it, but it is a house let's make it nice for the owner. So I think those are the only things that I have for this house.
Thank you. Okay. Let me just touch upon, and in no way should this be sort of like a legal or an understanding of covenants, ECNRs. Over the last 6, 7 years that I've been on the board, covenants are a area that's a private business and issue, and that we as the design review board members have to comply with the guidelines and codes by the city of Glendale. So if there's a neighborhood or addition that goes against covenants, I would suggest speaking to other departments of the city of Glendale to get direction, perhaps the city manager or the city attorney and such. So we focus on the design per the guidelines of the city of Glendale. Okay, having said that, in addition to some of the stuff that my associates were saying, I'm struggling a little bit with the architecture. I don't have a problem with adding a second story to this. But these neighborhoods, especially the hillside neighborhoods like this, when you look at the original design intent, the architectural palette that the homes were built upon, they focus more on horizontal planes and utilizing the horizontal planes to achieve the requirements of building the project, but at the same time being, if you will, a more natural, more environmental, and not just environmental as far as Mother Earth, but environmental approach to design and keeping the architectural consistency throughout the neighborhood. And one of the key components are the flat sort of architecture, so that when you look at the design and the development, it's in keeping with the cut and fill of the pads that were created, because your property is like 32,000 square feet, but your pad is relatively modest. And if you notice in the neighborhood surveys and stuff, you see a lot of these homes that do that. You know, this is a cut and fill and creating a pad, and they're put into these special areas and designed to these special areas so that when you see them, they harmoniously work within the neighborhood. And one of the things that I recall, hopefully properly, is that one of the things that we should, as design review board members, not only look at the individual integrity and aesthetics of the house that we're reviewing, but in the overall architectural fabric in which it lives, in which it exists. It's part of the guidelines and it's part of code. So that when we're looking at something, for me, I don't just look at it as an individual piece of property that no one can see. This project benefits from that. You can't really see it, but it doesn't just live in its own site. It lives in a community, and it lives in an architectural community that has a language. When I look at the architectural language of this project in comparison to the house that exists right now, you can see that aside from having a completely different architectural direction that is wanting to be taken at this point, it also has an architectural massing and volume that's different than what's there now, what's there in the community, and it emphasizes verticality. And you see that in the entrance, very vertical. You can see that this home right here, by certain key elements, accentuated the horizontal plane because it lives in a horizontal plane neighborhood, and we see a lot of that here. And when they struggle and don't successfully do that, they stand out. Some of them stand out majestically, and that's its goal, and some of them stand out because it's missing something. So when you see the original design, there's a couple of things that we see. If you notice on our floor plans, the eaves on the existing house, and some of them are 5 feet eaves, some of them are smaller. The eaves, like this eave right here, hangs beyond significantly. And when you look at that, you continue to accentuate the horizontal planes, and that's indicative of these kind of homes. This house changes the architecture. Okay, no quarrel there, but it retains the horizontal eaves of the old house. So this eave, which is about 1 foot 6 inches, depending on what you're looking at, is in conflict with the base house. So these architectural things start clashing with each other, and sometimes a person can't say, well, why it feels uncomfortable, but yet nevertheless it's there. Also, the vertical massing here goes inconsistent with the horizontal nature of this original home, and especially when you look at these eaves, some eaves being far, how unusual for me to ever need a microphone. Okay, speak into the microphone. So we have an existing house that the exterior hasn't changed other than adding stucco to it, but you still retain the original architectural scale and mass and elements of design which are inconsistent with what you're adding, in my opinion. So that when you look at the second story addition, it focuses the main entrance in very vertical elements, very tall. Staff picked it out. And they thought, and the thinking was that you would successfully achieve that by lowering it a foot or two. I'm saying that whether you lower this a foot or not is not going to mean much to the overall architectural, because you still got a vertical emphasis on the project. And then when you look at these eaves here, these eaves are really small compared to the eaves here. Now, you may be saying, Ivan, you're nitpicking here, but it's not. It's the architecture. It's what's there. So when I think of this architecture that we have here, I'll give this back, not bad architecture. I just think it's inconsistent in the big picture to what the original design intended for this community. 2, it's inconsistent with the base home, even though you're removing some of the elements of the original home. 3, inconsistent with some of the key elements that the original home it still retains, such as the eaves. 4, introduces new verticality to the design. And in an overall sense, it's not a bad design, but it struggles with those areas. When I show a highlighted area, whatever, it's not because I'm designing it for you. No way should be interpreted that I'm designing. But for me, it starts thinking about what is trying to be achieved here. And I did this not to design it, but just to give an example primarily for me, so that I understand what happens here. And if you look at this thing right here, the base house below utilizes 2 big rectangles, this and this back here. And that your home essentially plops down in a more box-like configuration, the addition. If I was the architect designing this, and I am not, I would utilize that same sort of horizontal language and emphasize horizontal language on my second floor. Here is my second floor, working with that horizontal emphasis. And if you want a balcony because you got a great view, well, here's your balcony. Horizontal, it speaks that language. This is for me, a tool only for me, not to design it for you. So when I look at all these pieces together, I struggle with the design. And then lastly, you take a period home that had some interesting materials at the entrance, and it has a few of these design cues, and you remove those completely for stucco or plaster. Very useful material, it's part of architecture today. But when I see the elevations here, I add one more thing to the things that make me struggle with this design. All those interesting materials, horizontal, you can see the stacked stone has a horizontal emphasis to it. The retaining, it struggles in that last component. So even though I don't think it's bad or patently not approvable, I think it misses these key elements that I think could and should be part of this addition and still get your second-story addition. I have no problem with second-story addition, but I think it can be done better if you look at it in that way. So those are my comments, and sorry for taking so long. Anyway, any other members of the board that want to comment or additional thoughts that all of us together as we were talking may add some more comments?
Well, I may add some more, sure. I was having trouble with that entry as well, the big mass that's against the hill, the one that you were referring to. And that to me is the part that sort of speaks the loudest. But, what you're saying is interesting as well, because, you've sort of zeroed in on the eaves, and I think that's a good observation, especially the eaves at the bottom level, the ones facing the pool. And I have no issue with your addition. That's why I made the comment initially about this being a little different than the others. The second story, if done modestly, could actually complement that hillside. You have an easier, the transition is a little more gradual rather than a cut in a hill. So the second story, in a sense, kind of helps that. But the point that Mr. Inswa was making about the horizontal nature, I think you can still achieve that even with this addition that you have. And that could be done very easily with the eaves. For example, you could extend these. You could bring the same language up above and see what happens. Now, as far as shifting the mass, I don't know. That requires another study. But perhaps you could start with what you have and see what it takes you. Because for me, the thing that triggers it, or the thing that sort of gives it away, I should say, is that the elevation facing the hillside. To me, that's it's sort of it doesn't work with the rest of the house. It's just too vertical, and it is a different kind of language. It's more about the sort of grandiose appearance that you want to have. And this house is not really about being grand. It's about just being sort of contextual and being what it really needs to be for that particular site. Because this element, the grand entrance, is sort of something that's taken from somewhere else and plopped here just because, it's nice to have a grand entrance. So, I don't have I think your comments are very good, and I don't want to ignore that. So as a board, I think, I don't know, where are we with this? I mean, should we discuss it? Are we...
Any more comments that we want to add after we've had the opportunity to listen to the other members? Okay. Well, we're at that point where we've listened, we've all added some of the elements that we think are good, and there's plenty of them. We've added a few that we think could be improved. Do you want to have us have a review or repeat to us, just summarize some of the comments that you've been hearing, Milka? Yes.
Yeah, I think their staff on this side of the room is a little wondering the direction of the conversation. So I don't know if the board is ready to entertain a motion, and then we could take it from there, or continue discussion, because we've heard essentially two sets of comments. I think all appear to be in agreement, but there's one interpretation of the comments where significant changes might be necessary, and earlier comments that we heard indicate that maybe less significant changes would be necessary, even though the verticality of the addition, the two-story stairway, and the high entry seems to be the point of concern for all four board members tonight. We're just a little confused on this side of the room.
Where does that go?
On what direction you might want to take it.
Thank you. Yes.
I would think it's a strong recommendation, because I think you brought up some very good points. And I think those eaves could make lowering, and the extension of the eaves could really help the project. And I totally agree, when you look at the back side, it's not just because it's hidden by the hill. The whole house has to look low and flat. And I would suggest we make it a very strong recommendation to revisit the horizontality of the project.
Yeah. The chimney that's on the second floor doesn't help either. The chimney that's shown on the master bedroom suite. I'm trying to find a plan here.
Let me see if I can put words where we may be tiptoeing, and where you, Stephanie, are saying. Is the board leaning towards fine-tuning, revisiting some of these things to the point where we would be considering a return for redesign? Or is the board thinking that the staff recommendations of approval, with their considerations, in addition to some other ones that we could be something that we as a board could be approving? Any thoughts on that?
Well, may I say something? Because I know that in the past we've done that, and it'd be nice to hear from the planning group, because I know that you want to have clear direction. So if you were to say, here's our recommendation, make the building look more horizontal, that seems very general, right? I mean, how far do you want us?
Well, based on what we've heard, what I would say is that it seems like you may be leaning in the direction of asking the applicant to really rework that entry volume. Just in quickly reviewing the plan again, if you conditioned, you made that condition to better integrate that two-story stair into the existing house so that, for example, the stair moves into the body of the existing house rather than being a standalone element, that would be specific enough direction for us to then work with the applicant. The question then to the board would be, would you be comfortable making that condition and allowing staff to work with the applicant and move to a permit, or would you want to see it again?
Thank you.
Yeah, I would be okay with making certain strong recommendations about horizontality, and using words like lowering it and using sort of the dimensions or the proportions of the overhangs that are there now and using that on the second floor. I think the addition could be placed better, but this is what they've submitted to us and this is what they want. I think it's close enough, I guess, for me, that it's placed in a location where it is towards the hill more. Of course, it could be better, but I think with those recommendations, I'd be okay with approving it.
Palmer, do you have a general sense of what you're feeling?
I agree with Mr. Yu. I think also solidifying the drawings might help the whole situation, because I'm not really sure what I'm looking at. And so maybe that's where I'm questioning some things.
Sure. Aliana?
I understand the last part. You're not sure what you're looking at.
The accuracy of the drawings not reflecting.
Too many
Yeah.
discrepancies, because it could look good in one part, and if we're not going to be doing that part, it might change other parts.
Yeah, the mislabeling of the elevations also doesn't help.
Well, I mean, the intent, I think, is there. I mean, I think there's good intent here. I want to make sure that we're not putting too much on the planning group where they have to be overburdened with things. The thing is, as I look at these plans even further, other things come to mind, and I'm wondering, if we, like Mr. Young said, this is what we have and this is what we're looking at, and so that's what we're going to give direction on. But there could be other possibilities, and I don't know that we need to stop that. I don't know if they're willing to explore other possibilities. They're probably invested a bit of time on this already. But as a general comment, I think, there might be some missed opportunities here where, when you look at the plan, you have the grand stair facing the hill, which means that when you're coming into this grand stair, you have no views. I mean, it's basically looking at this hill. And the best part of the best part of the house, the views are actually on the side where you have this huge closet and a bathroom which has minimal windows. And even your master bedroom suite, even though it has doors, it has this fireplace right in the middle. But that's okay. I mean, I think that there's enough fenestration there where you're still getting some very good views. But to me, it seems like Ms. Reich said was that, I think you said that, was if there's an opportunity here to put the stair more in the center of the house, or you're coming at the core of the house, as you come up the stair, now you have windows looking out. That whole elevation is transformed, because now you have fenestration facing the view, which means when people are looking up, you're looking at a much lighter structure, where it actually starts to make that portion of the house feel more like a void with this roof hovering over it, again emphasizing or bringing to light some of your comments, where now you're providing a second story that's a little bit lighter, that might reflect the horizontality a little bit better. So if those opportunities are there and you want to explore them, I don't think we should stop you. I mean, I think, and if that becomes the case, then you have a brand new project, which means, are you comfortable? It sort of has to come back to us, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think it's really for the board to decide how important it is for that form to be reworked.
Yeah.
And with the consideration that you probably wouldn't want the second story addition to get any closer to the view side.
Right.
So the elements could flip around, the stair could move more inboard so that there's not a two-story element on the perimeter of the house. We're comfortable with working with the applicant, but if that's really important to the board, it needs to be a condition, not a strong consideration.
Yeah, I mean,
We have to remember that even if we did approve this, we're not precluding them from being able to go and redesign it. That's up to them, you know.
yeah, that's true.
Yeah, but
It's their house too.
True. The thing is that there's, like I said, there's a missed opportunity here. I think if I look at the first floor plan, and I didn't notice this before, Mr. Ainsworth focused on the language of the exterior, which is very important. We haven't really talked about the plan too much. We normally don't because planning is interior. But when you do look at the planning of something, it actually starts to trigger things about the exterior. You start to think about, is the language of the plan actually going to produce an exterior shell, let's call it, that's consistent with what's there already. And if I were to analyze, if I didn't even look at the elevations at all, and I just looked at the plan, I would say the plan, the language of the plan for this development, just in the first floor, is totally different than the rest of the house, because now we have a system of these huge piers, these sort of pier-like elements at the entrance, and also even in this sort of wonderful, the balcony, and this really grand entrance as you come in through the stair, and then you turn right, you have this sort of hall that's grand, and it's in a scale quite different than the rest of the house in the language and the plan. So if I were to judge it from that, I would say that the plan itself is really not consistent with the rest of the house. So I think let me summarize here. Maybe we can go to a conclusion here, because I don't want to create more hardships. If the applicant can achieve the goal, which I think we're all concurring on, is that the second floor addition is fine. We don't have an issue with the second story addition, but make the second story addition language similar to the ground level, thereby allowing it to be more horizontal, and really fix that entry with that big, this sort of tower-like element. Develop that to the point where when you're looking at that elevation, it doesn't look like a completely different kind of house, because that's what it does right now, especially that perspective. That says it all. If we give those directions, are those specific enough for staff to say, we can direct the applicant with this?
my feeling is that from historical processes that we've been doing, that when something, for me, reaches a threshold of significant design, as I think we're talking about, or at least some of us are looking at, I believe that staff has historically said, please, that's not our primary job, to design or work with the applicant to that magnitude. We can tweak, fine-tune, ensure compliance to windows, take this little thing and finish it up, but not, in my opinion, what I see and what I think I'm hearing from us in general. I believe, in my own opinion, that historically and that the nature of the things that we may be struggling with, but I certainly am, I would feel more comfortable to return it for redesign and let the architect take our comments in concert with the owner's needs and come back with something that we don't need to burden staff so much. I often, maybe secretively, look at staff faces and think if they're struggling a little bit, and I think I'm sensing that a little bit here. I'm no space reader, but I'm sensing that here.
Well, again, this is your call. I think what we like to indicate to you is that we have specific enough direction. If you want to make not hard conditions, not considerations, and you want us to have, because the way that I've written down Board Member Aliano's last comment, that the second story addition must be more horizontal, and especially the entry needs to be more horizontal. What I might add to that is that it seems to me that the board would like to require that there not be one continuous two-story volume apparent even on the hillside side. So those three pieces, in addition to staff's initial recommendation, extending the eaves, those things are specific enough that staff would feel comfortable. If the board would like to see it again, that's obviously your call.
I just think in doing those 3 items, which I think would be conditions, that it might start to change the whole floor plan and change everything else, and we would end up with a whole new design that would be overwhelming and it'd have to come back. So my personal opinion is I would rather return it for redesign, let the architect come up with the proper design based on our comments, and go from there.
And I think that will also give them an opportunity to revisit some things. If they want to change it, then they can, like Mr. Young said.
I think we've made enough suggestions that might get them thinking in another direction.
What is that? Are we concurring on that, or are there any other comments? Because I think I can make a motion. See what you think. I will move for a return for redesign with the following comments. The comments are basically what we just said.
That the second-story addition needs to be more horizontal, especially the front entry.
Yeah.
And to eliminate any continuous 2-story volume, and also to extend the eaves. That's
right. I think that's like Mr. Reich said. There's enough there for them to rethink and maybe even make other suggestions, and then I think that would be the best way to go. That way, if it's transformed too much, at least we'll get to see it. So that's my motion.
And to consider using some materials per the existing house
Okay.
Using additional material.
as a consideration.
So the other pieces that we heard aluminum and not vinyl windows. Also condition consistency between plan and elevation. Very important. Very important to all applications that come to you. We get that. We really do. And additional materials where appropriate as exhibited by the existing condition, enhance the existing retaining wall. There was a lot of discussion also about the stucco. Would the board like to condition that it's a smooth stucco finish, consistent with that type of architecture? And I think those were all the comments that I recorded.
Wouldn't that depend
And
if they
there was
use
also one about.
Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say that one consideration was to even try to put the stair on the other side and maybe the closet.
Okay, yeah, that's sort of
Consideration.
Okay, so a consideration to relocate the stair inboard, and that as a condition that sort of gets attached to reshaping the entry volume, that the second floor should not get any closer to the view side or the east perimeter of the ground floor.
I think we agree with that.
And I don't think we should condition the stucco to be smooth or whatever. It would depend on if they decided to introduce some other materials and how those would relate.
Okay, that's helpful. Thank you.
So the comments, you want to read, because there's a motion on the floor right now, so can we?
The second-story addition needs to be more horizontal, especially at the front entry. Again, to eliminate any continuous 2-story volume. Also extending the eaves. Consider using additional material for the house. Do not use vinyl windows. Use aluminum windows, which are obviously more appropriate and enhance the design.
Or the fiberglass, right?
Or fiberglass. Okay. Hold on, let me see that. Consistency between the plan and elevation. And again, these are just draft comments. I need to revise them to be more clear. Additional materials where appropriate to be included as exhibited by the existing condition on the house. Enhance the existing retaining wall. I wasn't clear now. I had noted to use smooth stucco finish. Are we striking that out? Okay. Consider relocating the stairs inboard and attached to reshaping the front entry volume. I need to work that out with Stephanie to make sure I'm expressing it correctly. The second floor not to be any closer to the ground floor perimeter on the east side. Am I correct?
The second floor what? The second floor what?
The second floor not to get any closer to the ground floor perimeter on the east side.
Okay.
And just one last comment, because I know I had included that in the condition of, recommended conditions regarding the existing fence. That needs to be legalized. So that's actually
still
part of the
applies.
board's purview as well, since we're
Yeah.
now required to
Comment
review
number
fences and gates in terms of design.
So, yeah, that's comment number 2 on your approval.
Right, correct.
Legalized means it's okay the way it is.
Yes.
I understand
Yes,
that. Yeah, it's okay with us.
Okay.
So I'll just say it's okay to legalize, existing fence.
Why don't we take a, so you brought up the motion.
Yeah, it hasn't
You
been
have a second,
seconded yet.
right?
Yeah.
Second that.
Okay, so that was a motion by Board Member Aliano to return for redesign, and a board member, and a second by Board Member Palmer. Roll call, Board Member Aliano,
Yes.
Board Member Palmer,
Yes.
Board Member Yu,
No.
Chairperson Insua.
Yep.
Motion carries 3-1.
We're done.
Okay. What, sir, where's,
Because of the heat you're talking.
no, sir, the public session is, I cannot, sir. Sir,
I'm going to design this, right?
sir, please sit down. Well, I promise you we'll have an opportunity to talk, but not now.
Let me talk, because this is an issue that was only...
Sir,
We can't have any cross-
Sir, I promise you will have a chance to talk, but now is not the setting. Thank you. Please. Okay. Any additional business that we have?
Yes, last item on tonight's agenda would be the minutes from August the 5th, and Chairman Insua was not present.
Correct.
Yet Board Member Aliano, Palmer, and you were. So if there's someone who would like to, following review, make a motion. There was one case on that evening's agenda for Mills Avenue.
Just the one application. Something that was a condition, I thought. Oh, you did a consideration to change the front windows and the side window to match the proposed windows, and I thought that was a condition, not a recommendation. Front
Oh,
windows,
this would be consideration number 2.
Number 2.
That would be actually a condition.
I thought we had said it was a condition because there's...
Okay, well, we'll need to go ahead and review the
Let's check on that one.
Okay, so with that said, we're going to table the minutes, have the planner review the tape, and take a look and bring these minutes back to you with that comment. That said, just one last staff announcement. If anyone is looking in the TV audience, yes, we are still back in the council chambers. We are not able to televise live from MSB 106, so until further notice, or 105. So until further notice, we will be having the design review board meetings here in the council chambers. So that concludes the agenda.
Okay.
Is there a motion to adjourn the meeting at 6:30?
I move to
I
adjourn.
think you want to
Oh, did you want to?
have an opportunity for...
No, we'll do it off. We'll do it offline, yeah.
Okay.
Move to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn made by Board Member Aliano. All in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Thank you.
We're closed.